Since moving out here from California 6 years ago, I have absolutely loved living here. I mean, there are a lot of really awesome things about Kansas, right? The prairies and the sunsets. Getting to teach you guys, I mean, that has been absolutely fantastic. The smaller town feel where people actually wave back at you and, they smile when you smile, that's awesome. The snow and the summer thunderstorms, which come out of absolutely nowhere, but like we don't get weather like that back in California. Potlucks, right? Cheesy potatoes, like who knew? But every time I go back to visit the Fam Bam in California, I'm reminded that Kansas and California, they have some pretty stark differences. The lack of mountains and actual ocean beaches, everything's just pretty flat here. The fact that everything is closed after 9 p.m., the speed limits. My gosh, like people drive slow. Like in California, 75 basically means no speed limit. Here, you have people driving 40 miles an hour in a 55 zone. Like, come on. I've got to say though, one of the roughest adjustments to Kansas was the amount of mosquitoes that are out during the warmer months. Where do they come from? I mean, mosquito bites in places you didn't even know existed. Lucky for me, some very creative people have invented some pretty high-tech mosquito traps that bring those suckers. Hold on, bring the suckers. That bring those suckers what's coming to them.
The Dynatrap insect and mosquito trap works in three ways to trap mosquitoes. First, it draws them in with a warm UV light. Then, it produces carbon dioxide to lure them close. Finally, the trap uses a silent vacuum to suck bugs into its chamber, where they become dehydrated and die.
I mean, boom! Take that, mosquitoes! And all because you were drawn to the light. Now, light is our planet's source of heat, and because of that, it's a pretty major source of life. So, naturally, we humans are also attracted to light. Yes, I'm telling you, we're no better than bugs. Not to worry though, I mean, we're not alone because much of nature tends to fall into this pattern, even plants. Have you ever noticed how plants want to face and grow toward the light? This concept is known as phototropism, and today we're going to use that to make a plant do some pretty funky stuff. Before we get going with the actual building of the maze, let's go ahead and get our plant started. Now we are going to use beans because beans are really quick when it comes to sprouting and growing, and we can see that process happening pretty quickly. So you're going to need a cup with some dirt in it, and you're going to need a few beans. Now, if you use black beans or white beans or kidney beans, any of those should work just fine. But go ahead and get yourself a little hole about an inch below the surface here. And get those beans planted. And if you do a few of them, you kind of increase your chances of at least one of them sprouting. Then go ahead and cover that just real loosely with your soil. You're going to add some water because beans tend to grow much better in wet locations. So as you go to build your maze, you're going to want to make sure that all of your building materials are gathered and ready to go. You're going to need a shoebox or a cardboard box of some type. You're going to need a ruler, some paper, a writing utensil, some scissors, and I guess you could use an X-Acto knife too. You're going to need tape or glue. We're going to go ahead and get our maze constructed here. So first thing you're doing is you're going to cut a hole in the top of your box. And this is where the X-Acto knife might kind of come in handy, but this is going to function as the exit of your maze. You're going to close the box and make sure that nothing is in the way of the hole that you just made. So make sure that that flap isn't going to block the light. Next thing you want to do is measure the inside of your box because we need to figure out what the dimensions are to create some dividers for each level of our plant maze. So my box is about 8 inches by 12 inches. And looking at depth here, looks like it's about 4.75 inches deep, which means when I go to cut my divider papers, I need to make sure I'm leaving about a ½ inch on each side so that I have some glue flaps when I go to put it all together. Okay, so go ahead and get some dividers cut out of paper. It's best if you have a really dark color of paper, but like I only have hot pink paper here, so I'm just gonna use a couple of layers so that I don't have any light passing through. Okay, and once you've got that measured, you're gonna draw and cut out a circle in your divider. That's gonna act as your plant next step in the maze. I'm gonna go ahead and cut some little ½ inch flaps here so that when it comes time to glue my next level in, I can just bend that up real easily and tack it to the sides of my box. Okay, and once you've got those flaps cut, go ahead and get it glued in to your box. And you can make it as simple or as complicated as you want it to be. I'm probably going to add one more level to mine, but you can go crazy if you want to, or just keep it pretty straightforward. Wow, I am not going to lie to you, that was an experience. Just word of advice, make sure that you leave room for a cup underneath the very first time that you do it, because I had to go and rip the whole thing out and start over again. Now, once we have our plant maze built, you're going to take that cup and you're going to stick it inside. And then you're going to close this up, and you want to make sure that this is put somewhere that light is going to be able to come through the very top of your box. Because our goal here is that light would be making its way down through the top and through these different holes. Because remember, with that phototropism, our plant should be growing toward the light. Now, this is going to take a couple of days. It's going to require some patience, but I think it's going to be really cool to see how exactly that plant reacts to the light. So close it up, get it stuck into a light spot, and we'll open it up in a couple days and see what happens. So plants grow toward the light as a way of generating more energy through photosynthesis. How do those plants grow toward the light exactly? Plants contain a hormone called auxin, which causes plant cells to grow longer. So plant cells on the shady side of a plant contain more of those auxin hormones, which makes our plant kind of bend toward the light as the cells in the shade elongate or get longer. It's pretty cool. So I know I'll be posting my plant progress pics on Instagram, but I definitely want to see what kinds of mazes y'all come up with. So shoot me pictures or videos so we can compare. Make sure you get up, get moving, get out, because life is way too short to just let it slip away from us one day at a time, even in the middle of quarantine. All right? Let's live it well. I love you, people.